Programmable Interrupt Controller Intel 8259A. Interrupts can be used for a variety of applications. Each of the interrupt applications requires a separate interrupt input. If we are working with 8086 microprocessor, we get only two interrupt input, namely INTR and NMI. For the applications where we have multiple interrupt sources, we use external devices called a priority interrupt controller. Programmable interrupt controller is used when several input-output devices transfer data using interrupt and they are to be connected to the same interrupt level of the microprocessor. Figure shows the block diagram of the 8259 programmable interrupt controller. It is designed specifically to be used with INTR or INT signal. It is compatible with 8086 or 8088 microprocessor. It can manage 8 interrupt requests at a time. It vectors an interrupt request anywhere in the memory map through program control without additional hardware for restart instruction. It can resolve 8 levels of interrupt priorities in a variety of modes. By cascading 8 to 7 nines, it is possible to get 64 priority interrupts. The architecture diagram shows the data bus buffer, read-write logic, cascade buffer or comparator, control logic, in-service register, priority resolver, interrupt request register, finally interrupt mask register. Interrupt request register, shortly IRQ. The interrupts at IRQ input lines are handled by interrupt request internally. IRR, interrupt request register, stores all the interrupt requests in it in order to serve them one by one on the priority basis. Interrupt request having 8 bits starting from IR0 to IR7. In service register, it stores all the interrupt requests those are being served. That is, ISR keeps a track of the request being served. Priority resolver. This unit, priority resolver, determines the priorities of the interrupt request appearing simultaneously. The highest priority is selected and stored into the corresponding bits of ISR during interrupt acknowledge pulse. The IR0 has the highest priority while the IR7 has the lowest priority. Interrupt mask register IMR, it stores the bits required to mask the interrupt inputs. IMR operates on IRR at the direction of the priority resolver. Interrupt control logic manages the interrupt and the interrupt acknowledge signals to be sent to the microprocessor for serving one of the 8 interrupt requests. This also accepts the interrupt acknowledge signal from the microprocessor that causes the 8259A to release vector address onto the database. Data bus buffer is a tri-state bidirectional buffer interfaces internal 8259A to the microprocessor system database. Control words, status, and vector information pass through the data buffer during read or write operations. Read-write control logic circuit accepts and decodes commands from the microprocessor. This block